It's 7:30, so we're going live.
Huh. Maybe though, if anything, it kind of gave us an interesting way of playing our games, even though it kind of kind of was a little out there.
I mean,
The
I
only
like the idea. Don't get me wrong, but like the idea of having like this like essentially an expansion for a console game, that's cool. The problem is that to me, and this is my own personal opinion, the base Sonic and Knuckles game, the base Sonic 3 game is not that good. It's like a lesser version of Sonic 2.
I have to look at you real weirdly when you say that because seriously, both Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 3 were real good, at least for their time.
No. Sonic 3, because the reason they created Sonic and Knuckles was because what they wanted to do, they couldn't fit it on that cartridge. So basically, they cut content out of
Yeah,
Sonic
they
3.
put so much.
They cut content out of
Yeah, they
Sonic
put so much
3.
content into Sonic 3 that they had to split into two
So
games.
really, if you want to enjoy Sonic 3, you have to have Sonic and Knuckles and attach Sonic 3 to Sonic and Knuckles. But I mean, that's kind of a fuck you to people who bought that game. Say, oh, yeah, you want to enjoy the full. Like, could you imagine the competitors to Sonic? Could you imagine like Super Mario 3, Super Mario World, or Super Mario, what they called Super Mario World 2, which is really Yoshi's Island for
Super Mario
Platinum Games.
USA.
Could you imagine that bullshit with Nintendo? Oh yeah, you want to enjoy the full measure of this game? No, you got to buy another $60 cartridge and plug it into this shit in order to enjoy this. I mean that's some bullshit.
If
I
it
mean
was
I'm sorry.
functional, then
No,
it could work.
I'm not
I'm going to be
arguing that it
serious
isn't
there.
functional, but I mean, for your parents, because you weren't buying these games, your parents were buying this game. You're spending $60 on some shit. You expect to get the full gameplay experience. You don't want to get. Oh no, you got to buy some extra shit on top of that. Um, I mean, Sega just was not very well run towards the end of the Sega Genesis life cycle. Um, into the Sega
I was going
Saturn,
to say that
the Sega CD.
I was saying that I was going to say that Sonic Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles were kind of the last good beacon before things really went down for Sega. But if anything, you you could at least say that both of them were their own separate game, but then you get two games in one.
Yeah, but I gotta disagree. Um, I know this is subjective because everyone has their opinion, but for me, I didn't like Sonic 3, and I thought Sonic and Knuckles was just a money grab. I mean, it was cool that you could basically attach your Sonic and Knuckles to Sonic 1, 2, and 3, 1 and 2, and play as Knuckles in those games, but eh, I just wasn't impressed. Um, on the other end of the spectrum, you have. I disagree that those were the last hurrah of good Sega because you have to remember, Sonic and Knuckles came out towards the end of the Sega Genesis life cycle when Sega had the balls to release bullshit like the 32X and Sega CD. So really, that was the era of Sega going downhill. Really, because I mean, like Sega. Okay, it's one thing if a third party cheaps out on a cartridge in order to save some money, like Capcom notoriously did with their early SNES games. Like they could have put the entire uh, port um, of Final Fight on the Super Nintendo, but they were cheap, right? So they didn't want to buy a cartridge that was big enough to hold that game. You know, so it was just Capcom being cheap. Um, and I mean I can understand that because the margins are really thin. But when you're being cheap with your own fucking console, which is what Sega did with Sonic and Knuckles, it's like, oh, we can't you can't make a cart. Like you own your own facility to make this shit, which means you aren't charging yourself what you would charge a third party to manufacture those cartridges. You couldn't make a bigger cartridge, like, because Sega was always bragging about the mega power of their cartridges. 30 mega power, 16 mega power, 8 mega power, 12 mega power. It's like, come on, man. And eh. like I didn't get a Sega Genesis until after the height of the Sega Genesis era, because I basically went to a yard sale and bought a Sega Genesis, Sega CD, Sega 32X, a whole bunch of games for those for the base system and the add-ons for like $25.
Hmm.
So, um, like I remember going to people's houses and them having to hook all that shit together and then playing these games, and I just was not impressed. Like the measure for me of a good system is, do you feel like you missed out by not having that system when it was at its height? And none of Sega's games did I feel like, man, I wish I had had this at the same time as I was playing other shit. Because what I had on my shit was, if not to the same level, better. So I just was like, yeah, I don't feel bad about it. It's, like I played Sonic the Hedgehog. I like, I wasn't like I think Sonic the Hedgehog has one of the best opening levels in video game history. The first one, Green Hill Zone. I think the music and just how everything flows together is really cool. I think Sonic 2 really takes the concepts of Sonic 1, like the negatives, and makes it better. Um, Not quite as good as it could be, but better. And then you get Sonic 3, which is just kind of like, eh.
Hmm.
I mean, to me, Sonic 3 to me is kind of like the Donkey Kong Country 3 of that series. Like it's not terrible, but it's not as good as the first two games. Um,
If you're looking for if you're looking for the Donkey Kong 3 of Sonic series, that would be Sonic and Knuckles.
no, because I mean the thing is that like Sonic and Knuckles, like we said earlier, is essentially cut content from Sonic 3. If you play Sonic 3 with Sonic and Knuckles, that's the full game. It's actually pretty good. But you have to literally, like, I think Sonic 3 back in the day was like $40 to $50. And then if you wanted Sonic and Knuckles, that was another $40 to $50. So you're spending $100 to get the full complete game. That's some bullshit. I'm sorry. That is unacceptable.
At the time, we didn't know it was the full game when they came together, at least until Sonic and Knuckles came out.
Yeah, but Sonic and Knuckles came out shortly after Sonic 3. And if you like, even if you had like Sega, like the equivalent to Nintendo Power, but Sega's version of it, they would they said it in the thing. They're like, yeah, if you want to enjoy the complete experience of Sonic 3, you have to have Sonic and Knuckles, because that's the full that's like all the content together. And Sega tried to, sell it. Well, actually, with Sonic and Knuckles, you can play as Knuckles in Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. So I can play as a character in two games that were never meant to have that character, with a character that fundamentally breaks how these games play. Wow, that's great. And I get to pay $50 for this? Wow. And people wonder why Sega fucked up towards the end of the Sega Genesis's life cycle. It's shit like that is what I mean, all the additions and just like them not getting their like them always being reactive and not proactive. It didn't work out for them, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is.
Well, at least they try to add more stuff for you to do in Sonic 2, though. If anything, makes me wish that they actually kept their promise in Sonic 1 to at least see how broken that F is.
I mean, like I said, Sonic 2 is my favorite overall Sonic game. Um, like I just think it flows a lot better. There aren't as many of those tedious ass puzzle levels like they tried to do in the first game. Um, I think like the level design from the first game has been refined into. Three, like I said, it seems like they're trying to do too much, and like some of it doesn't really hit as well as it could or should or whatever. I don't know. Next, so we're waiting for Kenoshi to come in. So before, if he comes in, before he gets in, if he gets in, I guess we can talk about what we're talking about on today's podcast. So today's podcast, we have 5 topics, and the title of this is "The Reality of the Situation." But we have 5 topics. So we're talking. We're going to discuss Marvel's Avengers game from Square Enix failing miserably. The topic of early access abuse. So early access abuse is where games come out in early access and they're either like they're putting out something that really should not be in early access, or like they release a game and they keep it in early access for years, getting money, making money off of an unfinished product.
Oh, there's a worse way that could be done.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
Should I mention Star Wars?
well, I mean, the only thing about early, oh, you mean the original Star Wars where they sent people cardboard cutouts like insert character here, where they hadn't had they hadn't printed the action figures yet.
That and I was I was going to remind you of Battlefield 2
uh, you
because
mean Battlefront 2?
the only
Star
thing
Wars
that's worse
Battlefront 2?
than yeah because the only thing that's worse than a beta that lasts for years and has people paying is a beta with microtransactions.
Yeah, but Battlefront 2 was a complete game. The thing is that they gated off content behind microtransactions. Which, to be fair, a lot of games are doing that now. Unfortunately, um, hell, but that was a complete game. It was just the way that
Uh,
game was built. It was built. The single player was just some slapdash bullshit that EA created. Dice created. The real money was gonna be people playing multiplayer. Everything was geared towards making people spend real money in multiplayer, and that's how EA was gonna make money off of that game. The problem is that people didn't want that from a Star Wars game. Like EA still has not figured out what type of games people want from Star Wars. Like they released the new Star Wars Squadron, whatever the fuck that shit is, Star Wars Squadron game, and it's like, okay, this is nice, but it's like I watched I listened to a review of it, like a deep dive review of the game, because it's a $40 game and there's no microtransactions, which is nice, but it's a shallow gameplay experience. Like basically, if you played Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 from Factor 5 on your GameCube, you have a more in-depth gameplay experience for Star Wars than what these people got now. I mean, that's
it's
some
kiddie pool
bullshit.
shallow, isn't it?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay, Had we not had games like Star Wars, Rogue Squadron 1, 2, and 3 on the Nintendo systems, had people not had X-wing versus Tie Fighter or Tie Fighter Academy, you know, like Tie Fighter 1 and 2 Academy, had people not had games like that on PC and on other, like, we've had good Star Wars games, so EA's bullshit Star Wars games are like, come on, man. You know, like, we've had good Star Wars games. It's kind of like, I mean, you know, this is a cast that's not for kids. It's kind of like basically EA is kind of like someone who EA is like someone is like your EA is essentially kind of like you being in a relationship with someone who's not good at sex, but you've had good sex. So you know that what they're doing is not good sex and they don't want to learn to get better. You know? Like, that's basically how EA is. It's like, oh, yeah, we know we aren't shit, but, you know, fuck it. What are you going to do?
I'll if if that's the case, I treat them like I treat EA Sports.
You know? And the thing is,
And
EA used to have good games. There was a time when
about to
EA
say
had good games.
that was probably back in the game N64 days at best when it was last found.
I would say around the sixth gen, they still had good games. But once the sixth gen ended, EA started going downhill. Like once microtransactions and online, like EA just is not a well-run company.
Yeah.
They make games that are just like this could be so much better. Um, which is kind of sad, but what are you gonna do? You know. So I don't know why we went off a tangent describing what we're talking about. So we're going to be covering early access abuse, a rant on the destruction of historical franchises. So, you know, we can talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, we can talk about Street Fighter, we can talk about F Zero, because F Zero is pretty much dead at this point, because Nintendo ain't done shit with it. You know, franchises that used to be kind of popular and now they just don't exist. Final Fantasy.
I was gonna say that two games I could actually honestly talk about from experience.
Yeah. And then we'll the fourth topic is should we care about the specs of a console? So should we care, like, you know, because people are talking about the specs of the Xbox Series X or the Sexbox and the PS5, and I'm like, who fucking cares about specs? What about these games? And finally, a
I was about to
rant.
say that that should be easy topic for me to land on. And speaking of, what was the fifth one?
Fifth one is comfort branding. People who get personally, who identify on a emotional level with commercial brands. So when you criticize them, even if it's like legitimate criticism, they feel like you're attacking them. You're attacking them personally. Um, and how
Oh
ridiculous
boy,
that
that's a
is.
spicy one.
Well, I mean, it's everywhere. You know, they're Xbox fans that are like
Yeah,
that. They're
the
Nintendo
main thing
fans that are like that. They're Sony fans that are like that. There are people who feel that way about certain movie
I was gonna say that.
stars. And finally,
If
we'll
I
nom.
was gonna say that the main thing, yeah, it's plenty.
And then finally,
So if anything, you're gonna finish with a nominee of a hole of the week.
yes, our final thing, we'll talk about the asshole of the week. So with that being said, let's get started. before we go any further, we didn't really get started with the way we wanted it. So, Jewel, introduce yourself.
Huh. If anything, this is what happens when we get into a topic that we really enjoy. But anyways, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to the BS Busters and the Week podcast for October the 10th. I am Joy Alien Moonstar, and oh boy, some of these topics are going to get sensitive, so viewer discretion is advised.
So yeah, our first topic is the Marvel Avengers game from Square Enix. So apparently now that game has 1,000 people a week playing it on on
Ooh,
Steam, which means
I thought it was lower.
it's probably lower on consoles. I mean, it's either holding steady or lower on consoles. Because I don't think anyone was excited about this game coming out. And the reason I'm talking about this is because like no one was excited for this game coming out, and on top of that, like literally, it's been in development for like 5 years. Because remember, it's like for 4 or 5 years. Because remember, Square Enix was like, yeah, we're making a Marvel Avengers game. And they have the people who made the Deus Ex games for Square Enix, the reboot games. Um, they pulled them from making Deus Ex 3, the third game in that series,
To craft this,
to craft this. And this is some bullshit. I mean, I haven't played the game, but I've seen people playing the game, and it basically it's basically kind of like Anthem. Like it has a single player, but then it's designed for PvE or PvP. It's weird. It's like I don't know who this game is for. Is it made for Marvel fans? Is it made for casuals? It's like I don't know who this is. Like if I
catered.
was no, go ahead.
I was saying you didn't know who it was catered to because to me it looked like it was trying to do do a trying to be an octopus, reaching everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's basically like it's kind of like Destiny apparently, but with a Marvel skin.
Oh, oh.
But from what I've seen, they don't even have interesting enemies. Like most of the time, you're fighting robots or dudes in AIM costumes. So and the fights are kind of stupid because if you're the Hulk and you punch a dude or a robot, the robot should just blow the fuck up. It's like you're getting owned by robots. The Hulk is getting owned by little shitty robots. It's like literally this
Really?
yeah, this game is just kind of
It's a really kind of game, right? Like you could have done so much more, yet here you are doing this. The worst part is that they included both overpowered powers that are nerfed to Hades and back.
yeah. The only good thing I've heard about this game is that Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, she's done pretty well, but the rest of it's kind of just trash. Um,
Most would say that the game is basically her story.
I mean, basically, what I'm saying is this. This game is like this game is like an MMO light PVE co-op experience where they don't have enough content. They don't have enough going on to make people want to play this game. And on top of all of that, they fucking microtransaction the shit out of everything under that so that they can make money off of it because this game went over budget. And it's clear it went over budget because it's been in development for like 5, 6 years. And Like a game that's been in
I was
development
about to
that
say,
long.
it Duke Nukem, didn't it?
No, no.
As a,
Typical development for a AAA game now is like 5 years. The problem is that this game is like okay. Breath of the Wild was in development for 5 years, um, and it looks like it. Skyward Sword was in development for 5 years. It looks like it. Now that's AAA for Nintendo. Let's take AAA to another developer. God of War 3 was in development for not God of War 3, the new God of War reboot, Horizon Zero Dawn. Those are 5 year development games, and they look like it. Like there's enough content to where okay, these people wanted to make a complete gameplay experience. This game is missing like there's content that should be there that it feels like they were like shit.
we ran out of time.
We gotta get something out. So either they had to restart development at some point. So really the development was like 3 years, but they had to scrap a whole bunch of shit that they made after 2 years, which I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out later on. Or this game just was not developed very well, which Crystal Dynamics has made games before. So I don't know what like I don't know how it went down like that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. But basically, what I'm saying is this. Um, this game is failing. Um, and I think that it is. I think that this game will probably limp along till next year, and then Square Enix will pull the plug. Because here's the thing. There's an article here from PC Gamer where they're basically like, um, they're like, well, we're gonna add more shit and people will come back. I'm like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of people are at home and have a lot of free time, right? If you can't get a game like this that's designed to eat up time to where people want to play it now, it's not going to get better later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That kind of really bites when you release your game in the middle of something dangerous, and well, you can't you can't do anything about it, and trying to make up for it in something that's terrible.
I mean, because I'm working like 20 hours a week now and from home too. So it's not like I'm, uh, you know, out and about. So the rest of my time, I have lots of free time. This is the time to be playing lots of games, reading lots of books, binging lots of movies. And yet, like, there's certain games I'm just not playing. So if people, when they have tons of free time right now, are not playing games, there's something going on here. If you have a game that people aren't playing, it's because you aren't providing a gameplay experience that people wanna experience. So Square Enix, I mean, I wanted this game to be good because I wanted there to be at least one good Marvel game.
Guys, what's going on?
We were talking about the first topic, which was the Lego Marvel game is failing. It's down to 1,000
Don't you
people
mean
a
the
week.
EA Marvel game?
No, it's the Lego Marvel. I'm sorry, the Square Enix Marvel Avengers game is failing. It's down to 1,000 people playing it a week
At best.
on Steam, which means it's probably less on consoles, or maybe I don't know. Now it's probably higher on consoles, but I don't think there's enough people playing this game. Because no one's really excited for it, you know what I mean?
What are you guys talking about?
We're talking about EA's Marvel game.
It's Square Enix.
Oh, Square Enix? Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
Square Enix
that
released
kind of...
the Marvel Avengers game that no one was asking for. And not only did they release it, but it's not really doing all that well.
I know one guy at work liked the game, but it might be one of those things where only a handful of people like it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the way I feel about it. If some like, for me, there's tiers to this shit. Like there's certain like okay, like there's certain people that I know I have an acquaintance level relationship with who have terrible taste in movies. So if they say they like a movie, I'm not gonna take that seriously because they have bad taste. Like the movies they like are bad. So if they say, "Hey, it's a good movie," I'm like, I'm not trusting you. you know, it's like you have to look at the source of what's good. Like it's kind of like there's some people who have terrible taste in food. So if they say a place has great food and you go there and you're like, really? like you gotta take their recommendations with a grain of salt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't usually get mad at people who like say bad movies or have terrible taste in food.
No,
Not
no, I
everything's
don't.
gonna please everyone.
I don't get mad at the people who have bad taste. I'm saying that when they make a recommendation and you go with their recommend, because I mean that you have to kind of find out that someone has bad taste because they make a recommendation and this is before you know they have bad taste and you're like, oh yeah, I'll try it, and then you go there and you're like after the fact you're like, why'd you recommend this to me? It's terrible. Like, but I like it. It's like, oh shit, you're one of those people. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, damn. You know, like,
Yeah, some people are just gonna like stuff that's just not that just doesn't speak to you the same way.
I mean, I've always tried to be a rational person. Like, I try to like, okay, there's bad shit that I like, right? But I recognize it that even though I enjoy it, that it's trash. Like The Last Dragon. The Last Dragon is an enjoyable movie to me. It's got Timok and Julius. Here, let me look it up because I forgot the guy's name. The Last Dragon. The Last Dragon. It's a 1985 film directed by Michael Schultz, produced by Barry Gordy. It stars Julius J. Carey III. Okay, right, and basically, like the movie starts Julius J. Carey III as Shonuff, aka the Shogun of Harlem. Okay, now this is a blaxploitation movie. And it's one of my favorite films, okay? It's like literally one of my favorite films of all times. I mean, it's terrible, but I love it, okay?
Yeah, exactly. See, I mean, we all have things, we all have things that we know is terrible that we like, and we all
Yeah.
have things that, and we also have things that we really like and really enjoy that other people will look at and be like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Nah,
see,
not
that's
for
the thing, okay? To me, there are things that you can enjoy that are trash, like The Last Dragon. It's not a good movie, but I enjoy it because there's like all this meme-worthy shit. And as a kid, I used to watch it. I'm like, this shit's just fun. It's stupid fun. But nowhere would I defend it as high art or say that it's good. You know, like my issue are people who enjoy trash and defend it as being good, like on a objective level. I'm like, look, this is trash. Just because you enjoy trash doesn't make it good. It means it's enjoyable. Like Skyrim. Skyrim is a trash game. I enjoy it because of mods, not because it is good. Okay? Like you'll never see me go, yeah, this is really good shit. No. No. It's trash. It's complete and it's complete and total trash.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's just some movies out there that are utter and complete trash, but
Yeah.
they're so trash that they're very entertaining.
Yeah. Like it basically comes all the way around. It's like this is so shitty that it becomes good again. Like I mean, like okay, like I'll give you an example. A bad movie that is so trash that it becomes good. Scary Movie 2. Now the
Yeah.
first Scary Movie is a legit like little funny rated R comedy flick. Scary Movie 2 is better on a technical level, but it's so dated, but I still enjoy watching it even though it's dated as fuck. Like
Did, didn't they water down some of those? Like, because they made like 1 million of those movies. Didn't they water them down so that they could grow a bigger audience? Like they had a.
yeah,
I know they had a PG-13 one, and
yeah,
then they just came out with an unrated one. Which
yeah,
is the
Scary
rated R
Movie
version.
1 was rated R. Scary Movie 2 was rated R. Scary Movie 3, like basically Keenan Ivory Wayne, like the Wayans production company sold Scary Movie to another studio, and they basically made them PG-13, which
Yeah.
basically fucked them up because, like, I don't know why people are so afraid of rated R comedies because there used to be a niche for rated R comedies for like kind of risque rated R comedies, like stuff like
Not,
Porky's, stuff like the first Police Academy. The first Police Academy is rated R, folks. It is. Or
well,
let me look it up.
the thing is, people were. I think, people were dragged out of that fear with Deadpool. Deadpool made raunchy rated R comedies cool again, I guess. Or maybe it was the Hangover.
I mean, we
I
always
know
get
everybody and their mother went to see that movie.
one good rated R film every once in a while. You know what I mean? Yeah, the first Police Academy is rated R, and it shows. I mean, like basically in the beginning of the like the main character of the film, Carrie Mahoney, wants to get kicked out of the police academy because if he gets kicked out of the police academy, like this guy who was the friend of his father, who was a policeman, will get off his back. Like that's the plot. That's the general plot of the movie. Okay, now
Yeah.
he basically does everything to get kicked out. Like he does all these pranks. He pranks the commandant of the of the police academy by sneaking a prostitute into the podium while he gives his commencement for the opening of the academy. The prostitute blows the commandant, blows him while he's giving the speech. So, well, you don't see that, but you see the commandant trying to power through his speech while getting a PJ. and Carrie Mahoney.
I already got enough images in my head for how that goes with mayors. Thank you very much.
Carrie Mahoney the entire time is hiding under the podium too, and he's trying not to look at this. He's like, "Oh my god!" So there's this whole thing where Commandant Lassard he doesn't see the prostitute leave. He sees Mahoney leave, so he thinks Mahoney did it.
Wow.
But at the end of the movie, Commandant Lassard gets his because he basically hides a prostitute under the podium when Mahoney gives his speech, so he pays him back. like the first Police Academy is actually it's become a cult classic, but it's actually a really good film because it deals with a lot of issues that we're still facing today, like cops who are racist, sexist, elitist, that thin blue line bullshit. And this movie was made in the 80s, and it was talking about shit that's still relevant now, which is kind of fucked up because Police Academy is a fucking comedy. And it deals with these issues. And these issues are still in place today. That's kind of fucked up. But anyway, yeah, it's a secretly. I think I made a video talking about secretly brilliant films, and I think Police Academy is one of my secretly brilliant films because it's got some awesome shit in there. So if you guys ever get a chance to make the shit, you guys should go and do it. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic. I was just thought it was interesting that Square Enix's like a Marvel Avengers game from Square Enix. Like they could have made anything. They could have made like a Final Fantasy-esque RPG with Marvel characters, which would have been awesome.
Oh, that would have been great.
They could have made an open world action adventure. They could have made like kind of like an open world, pseudo open world action RPG in the vein of Deus Ex, but with Marvel characters. That would have been cool too. Where you play as Miss Marvel, and maybe you can get party members who were like, you know, Bruce Banner, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye. No, we're gonna make a battle. We're gonna make a Destiny light pseudo MMO microtransactions out the ass bullshit. That's what
really
they did.
Crappy arts with a really crappy art style.
Yeah, with not the Avengers. Like they would have done better going with a more comic book stylized style and just saying this is based off the comic version of these characters. That would have been better than this shit right here.
That's the part
Even
that
then,
really
that would have been
annoys me.
a real bad taste because of two characters,
Who?
Thor and Hulk. Remember?
Yeah, but if they had just gone with the comic book version of those characters and gone with a stylized version, a stylized graphical art, no one would have said anything. Because Thor in the comics has had multiple looks. They could have even gone with Jane when they had female Thor who was dying of cancer, except when she turned into Thor, where she, like, it was basically female Thor. That would have been cool. I would have been okay with that. That would have been, you know, girl power. Oh, well, that's from the comics. Okay, so that makes sense. And as far as
everybody has been chasing the whole Borderlands scheme when it comes to games. As much as Borderlands 3 I think a lot of people, at least from the story department, is a disappointment.
Yeah.
When it comes to the mechanics, it still does a lot of that stuff better than these other games.
Well, I mean, they basically kind of started it. And they, I mean, it's a formula. And, I mean, yeah, it is formulaic. I mean, here's what I'll say about Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 seems more tame than Borderlands 2, because I think Borderlands 2 was rated M, whereas Borderlands 3 is rated T for teen. So the cussing is gone. A lot of the sexual innuendos that were kind of clever in Borderlands 2 is, like, just kind of sophomoric in Borderlands 3 and kind of stupid. So, I mean, that's kind of the flaw. But anyway, yeah, Square Enix, you're fucking up that Avengers game. It could have been awesome, but you guys fucked it up. So that's on you guys. And for people who are like, well, they made Spider-Man a exclusive character for
PlayStation.
For PlayStation, I'm like, look, this game went over budget. They're trying to, and they know it's not selling well. They needed to make as much money as they possibly could. Okay.
Yeah, they should have made us. You know, if they were going to do a loot-based game, they should have scaled things down, went with a more, comic book art style, which would have been partially would have been cheaper than this ultra realistic art style that they went for. You know, I mean, Nintendo did it right with partnering up with. No. When it comes to their Marvel game, like they didn't throw tons of money at the game.
No.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, I think.
Yeah, and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is not that good. I mean, I recently went back and played it. It's not that good. It's not as good as Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 or 2 of the 6th gen. It isn't. It's not terrible, but here's the thing. Marvel Ultimate Alliance was never like, oh my god, this is the Mount Rushmore of Marvel games. I'm gonna keep it real.
Wasn't it?
No, go ahead.
wasn't it Diablo with Marvel characters? Wasn't that the whole
I mean, the
point of
first
that?
one was. The second one kind of evolved the formula enough that it wasn't just a Diablo clone, which I liked.
Yeah.
Like here's what I'll say about the best Marvel game I have played, hands down, is Lego Marvel. Lego Marvel
Oh, I
is the
might check
best
that out.
Marvel game I have played. Not Lego Avengers, Lego Marvel. Lego Marvel has the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, the Avengers. It's got the Agents of Shield. It has the Shield agents. It has heroes, villains. They all basically all the heroes and villains team up to get the pieces of Silver Surfer's board in order to use the power of Cosmic to banish Galactus because he's trying to devour the Earth. It's an original story. It has nothing to do with the Lego with the Marvel series. So it's not like, oh my God, we have to tie this into the fucking movies. Which, I mean, that's kind of the detriment of the Lego series, is that the movies have become so big that no one wants to do their own shit. They always want to tie it into shit that's already there. And I'm like, do something different. Right? You have this massive canvas. That's where I'll give Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 a caveat, is that they didn't even try to make it to tie it into the movies. They're like, this is based on the comics. So you didn't have to say, man, this isn't Scarlett Johansson. Listen. I have seen Scarlett Johansson in those tight pants, and that tight spandex suit. And this is no ScarJo.
Yeah.
I have seen that tight outfit many a time. And this is not ScarJo. And not Liam Helmsworth, not I like how they didn't even try to make the character look even slightly like Robert Downey Jr., but the voice actor is doing his best impersonation of Robert Downey Jr. It's hilarious. It's like, this is so shit. This is
Yeah, I mean, that is a sad thing that they were hamstrung by the movies, and that's obviously why they went for that art style, so people would like, oh, this looks kind of like the movies. Oh, I'll pick it up, because
Yeah, I'm like, why don't you just let this shit go? Stop trying to make everything be like the look. I'm gonna let you know a little secret, okay? As a Marvel fan, okay, I am legitimately a Marvel fan. I will tell you, I have issues with the movies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like how they bitched out the Hulk. The Hulk started out awesome, and then they bitched him out.
Heard that. I've heard that from people who follow the comics or who have followed the comics.
Like, the Hulk is badass as fuck, and they bitched him out in the later Marvel films, which is a fuck up of monumental proportions. And here's the thing: they're like, okay, so in Endgame, they just magically create Professor Hulk. I'm like, look, you're dealing with a Hulk that failed, so wouldn't it have made more sense for Bruce Banner and the Hulk to become jaded? Like, so instead of Professor Hulk, you would have had Gray Hulk or Joe Fixit. Wouldn't that have made more sense? Whatever. I'm not gonna get into it. That would have been too dark. And they here's the thing. It's the Disney Marvels is supposed to be for mass consumption. They don't want anything dark or gritty. And even when it's dark and gritty, eventually everything's gonna get resolved. So there's really no stakes with anything. Next, we move on to the topic of early access abuse. So this is when people just put shit in early access that really shouldn't be in early access.
Yeah, it's not even ready. It's not even ready for. It's barely out of alpha.
That would be an interesting portion of Steam games, though. I'm trying to remember which one off the top of my head I was going to use for this
Oh,
one.
they're non-Steam quote unquote AAA games that do that. I mean, let's keep it real. Fallout 76 has been in beta for was in
I was
beta
trying not
for
to
a
go for the
year.
low-hanging fruit,
Yeah.
because that one was a low-hanging fruit.
Well, that game, that whole thing was obviously built by people who had no idea what they were doing when it came to, a multiplayer game in which, basically a living product where everything is, always changing, always evolving, and keeping everything consistent.
I agree.
And they were obviously using an engine that couldn't handle that sort of thing either.
Well, actually, you want to know what's funny about Fallout 76, or actually all of the Fallout games? Fallout 76 was built using the Gamebryo engine, or the Creation engine, which is it's a bastardization of the Gamebryo engine. The Gamebryo engine was built using NetImmerse. NetImmerse was made for MMOs. So really, it was designed for shit like Fallout 76. The reason Fallout 76 failed so miserably is because Bethesda, the main Bethesda team made the base of that game in 2 months. Then they took that base and handed it over to that studio that they bought, that ZeniMax bought. And these people had no experience with that type of game or that engine. And they said, make something with this. And they kind of threw them to the sharks.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. A lot of these developers that make these Bethesda games might actually be talented, but they're rushed to push out a product.
Yeah, they were like, this shit has to come out. It's like, but this game is not, it's not ready. Fuck it. It needs to come out. It's like, but it's not ready. It's the opposite of ready. It's fucked.
Yeah.
Could you please not? No, it's got to come out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, it's because
that's.
No, go ahead, Kenoshi.
Unfortunately, I think that's just what happens to a lot of products. There are talented people who are working on them, but they're rushed to meet this ridiculous deadline. Yeah, that just can't be reached, and then you come out with a big old pile of shit.
I mean, even a good game can suffer from being rushed out. Like, I'm going to give you an example. I think Breath of the Wild would have been better had it had another year to add more content to it.
Yeah.
I stand by that statement.
No, I actually agree to an extent.
I think that I think there's some games where it's like this could, like, I think Mass Effect Andromeda could have been good had it had another year in development.
Yeah.
Had it had another year in development, I think Mass Effect Andromeda could have been good. I don't think Anthem was ever going to be good because it's not what people wanted. But I think Mass Effect Andromeda could have been a good game had it had another year in development. I think that they could have added some better. They could have come up with a better story.
Anthem was in trouble. During its conception. It's not like they were actually developing. It wasn't even supposed to be called Anthem. That's the funny thing about it.
Yeah, like what they showed was basically just a demo. When they first showed Anthem, that was just a tech demo, and then they had to build a game around a tech demo.
Yeah, that wasn't even running on really anything. Just a computer, It was running on a workstation computer.
Yeah.
There's no way the game was gonna look like that.
Yeah.
On your PS4. It doesn't even look like that on PC. Go back to that tech demo. Remember that tech demo? It doesn't even look like that on PC.
No, it doesn't. if you want it to look like that, you have to have a really good PC, and you have to go into the INI files and basically disable some shit. So they basically, in order to make it look like that, you have to essentially watchdogs that shit, like they did with Watchdogs.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Where
Yeah, and
just,
they tried to lock people out of it too.
yeah, but I mean, they're so stupid. You just go into the INI and just change some stuff, and you get those graphics. I mean, it's like why are you nerfing shit to make console people feel better? like like the reason people have PC for a lot of games is so that they can enjoy the game the best way possible. You know, like no, we got to make this work for everybody. Fuck everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
crazy.
I know people are gonna get mad, but I don't really care if you, you know, if I don't care if you play games on a console and you know the console version plays like shit because they don't know how to optimize their code. Because if I'm playing it on PC, I shouldn't have to. My shit shouldn't have to suffer because your shit's all fucked up. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know. I know people are gonna say, well, you know, I mean, like that's the thing. If you're playing on console, you're playing it in the worst way. All right. It's already kind of shit if you're playing it on console. Okay. Unless something was built as console is the lead platform. If something's built where console is the lead platform, then we're talking a different beast. But if that's not the case, then it's just some bullshit. That's all I'm saying. Any thoughts on this before we move on to the next topic?
On the whole
early access abuse.
Early access.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's only really a few games only probably 2 games I've gotten that, you know, right out of early access, you know, in early access, like, man, these games were pretty good, and that was Crosscode and Hades, which
Yeah.
I think you would like, Mr. Red Fox. I know how you're into Greek. I know how you're into Greek mythology.
Yeah, I do kind of like the Greek mythology.
Yeah, so I think you'd really like it. You'd obviously get a lot more of the references than I would, but yeah, it's pretty good game though. And I know fourth wall humor is not everybody's cup of tea, but I think the fourth wall humor is some of the best I've seen in anything.
It's pretty good.
It's like the game is aware of itself, but now at the same time it's not aware. It's like the game. It's like the characters are aware of what's happening, but at the same time it feels like it's such, you know, an integral part of the world. Like it's just they're naturally supposed to be aware rather than it just being there for laughs or whatever.
Well, I mean, Hades is made by the same people who made
Bastion.
Yeah, Bastion. So
Transistor.
yeah, that's kind of like what they do anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not really surprising. So I know some people will get mad at that. They're like, "How could you say that? You bastard." But yeah, I think the one that's most guilty of it right now is Baldur's Gate 3. Don't get me wrong. I like the first 2 Baldur's Gates. I think that they're okay. I think they're pretty good. They aren't my favorite computer RPGs from that era, I prefer Daggerdale. Um, sorry, Icewind Dale. Over Baldur's Gate because Icewind Dale has more character customizations. Um, like you can create more diverse characters in Icewind Dale than you can in Baldur's Gate 1 or 2. But with that being said, Baldur's Gate 3, like Larian Studios is releasing a game that is only 33% done, and they're charging $60 for it.
Yeah, that's the rub. That's the rub. That I was like, really $60? You couldn't give the early access people like a deal
like even if it was
$30.
$39.99, I'd be like, okay, you know, I know you guys got to make something off of it, but $60 for 33% of a complete game for real. And like the thing is, you don't even have some of the better races from from D&D. They don't have the Dragonborn. They don't have the Warforged. They don't have.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. That's the problem. I mean, obviously for them, Divinity Original Sin 2 is such a success that they kind of feeling a little confident right now.
Got a little cocky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's Divinity Original Sin 2 is a great game, but it's just, I don't know. It just seems to be par for the course with a lot of these companies. They get a few successes and they're kind of like, we can push the envelope a little more. But, I mean, people are picking it up. So.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like, come on, man. Like, how are you gonna do that?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was like $60 for an early access game. You're out of your mind.
Yeah. No, I got it on GOG, but I had a coupon from GOG that made it like $40. So like I didn't spend, full price on it.
$40 is still a bit much.
Even $40, I don't feel as bad. But for people who paid $60 for this, I'm like, come on, man. That's some bullshit. That, sir, is some bullshit.
Here, take my arm while you're at it.
This, sir, is just straight up bullshit. It's bullshit, I tell you.
But I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, $60 is pretty egregious, but I wouldn't say it's the most egregious thing when it comes to early access / the green light. I know they have the green light thing for a while, and everybody just piling up junk games.
Yeah.
Remember all the asset flips that were coming out on Steam?
That was worse.
Thinking earlier.
That was worse. I agree. I mean, here's what I'm gonna say, and I know some people might get upset by this, but what are you gonna do? I think that I think early access can be a force of good. I think if you're an indie studio and you have to get something out to bring revenue in to get you over the hump to finish your game, early access can be a useful tool. I think if you are a studio who can pull it off, you should not be releasing shit in early access.
Yeah, if you're a successful studio.
Like, if you have the funds to pull it off, because it's just, it feels disingenuous. Well, this is early access. It's like, look, if this shit's not ready, hold it back till it is, or release a fucking demo to let people see what you're working with. Because that's what it used to be back in the day, right? Like on PC consoles, there is no excuse for there not being demos for these games.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for you not being able to go up and say, "Hey, I like I don't know what they could have easily done that. They're like, look, here is a demo of the first like 10% of the game. It's a demo, and that should cover like 5 or 6 hours. If you rush through it, maybe an hour.
They've gotten so stingy with demos these past, I don't know, decade or so.
Yeah.
Like ever since 7th gen, they gotten so stingy with demos. They just think, oh well, they're just, what they try to do is get people just to trust them enough that they'll go out day one and buy the game.
And then the shit turns out to be trash, and people are like, man, I can't believe. That's the one thing I do like about Steam adding stuff like returns. You can play a game and be like, I don't like this, and return that shit and get your money back.
I mean, it's the same thing with next generation is going to be worse because now instead of being out $60, you're probably going to be out $70.
Yeah.
It's like just because they raised the price $10 doesn't mean the quality's going to be any better.
No. You're getting the same bullshit from this gen and the last gen and the gen before that you're going to be seeing now. It's not going to get better. Okay, that's all I'm saying. All right, it's not going to get better. I know some people will get upset by that, but it's true. It's not going to get better. Our next topic is the destruction of historical franchises. What brought this up was I watched some of the Comic-Con panel for Star Trek, and I was thinking to myself, I said, so many franchises that we used to take for granted have been run into the fucking ground.
Yeah, I know people were very disappointed. I know people who grew up with Star Trek were disappointed in the new movies, the J.J. Abrams movies.
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the second one. I mean, I'm not I didn't really grow up with Star Trek. I didn't watch it. I mean, the first one to me was pretty decent.
Yeah.
And then the second one was like, what? This is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
This is dumb. Like even as somebody
who's not a fan, you were like, this is some bullshit.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
Well, I mean, the thing is that what happened was that Paramount basically used to be part of CBS. They used to be all under one company. They split into two. But like a majority of the stock was still owned by the financial entity that used to own both CBS and Paramount. But what happened was that due to legal reasons, they couldn't share the same license, and they didn't want to. So basically, they wound up licensing out. They had to create an alternate license. So they licensed that out to J.J. Abrams' production company, Bad Robot. The problem is that to fans of Star Trek, which is why they basically rebooted the franchise with that bullshit ass timeline, the new timeline that they did, where nothing looks like it should because it's this alternate timeline. The problem is that like hardcore old school fans of Star Trek are like, I don't like this, and none of this makes sense. And Star Trek has a lot of fucking pseudoscience that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But the thing about science fiction versus fantasy is that science fiction has to have, even if it's an artificial reality, there are rules to that reality. This shit basically takes those rules and throws them out the window.
It's a difference between a moving platform with like gears and something and mechanical parts versus a platform that just floats in midair and moves.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to make sense how it's put together.
Yeah.
It's just got to be consistent, consistent throughout.
Yeah, it's the reason why Star Wars is fantasy and Star Trek is science fiction. Like, because you don't have to explain shit in Star Wars. Like,
Really.
if there's like, it's technology, Or how'd you do that? It's the Force.
It's like I was gonna say, or the classic, a wizard did it
Yeah,
for certain things in The Hobbit.
like literally, if Disney wanted to, they could completely retcon Star Trek and take out all of the science fiction references and just make everything just basically like make it just fantasy and it would work. No one would bat an eye, right? Oh, you've got magic users who essentially, instead of using wands like those stupid ass Harry Potter wands, they've got energy swords. They fight each other with fucking energy swords. The Millennium Falcon could be an airship. You wouldn't even have to go into space. It would just literally be a giant planet. And these different, like, what used to be planets could be parts of this planet. Say, oh, we're going to the forest of Kashyyyk. We're going to the desert of Tatooine. We're going to the city of Coruscant. Like, literally, you could do all that shit, and it would fucking work. You could pull it off, and no one would bat an eye. Star Trek is more grounded, okay? There's an actual history to it. There are rules to this shit.
Just surprising.
Yeah, which basically the JJ Trek just destroyed. And Alex Kurtzman, who wrote the script for the J.J. Abrams Star Trek 1 and 2, and literally, basically, Alex Kurtzman thinks that he's a good writer when he's fucking terrible, because this jackass, this dillwad, had the nerve to question Star Trek fans. He was like, well, we're thinking of doing Wrath of Khan, our own version of Wrath of Khan. Now, for Star Trek fans, Wrath of Khan is one of the best Star Trek films ever made. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's like, literally, you do not need to you just leave it the fuck alone. Nah. So, basically, they made a reboot. They made a remake of Wrath of Khan, but a shitty one. And people told them, don't do that.
I was going to say, and it shows.
I'm not a Star Trek fan or anything, but even like I said, even I'm like, this movie's shit.
Yeah.
This movie was a good idea.
It was trash from the beginning. First of all, they made Benedict Cumberbatch Khan, which is fucked up because Khan Noonien Sung, if you follow the canon, is genetically engineered, a genetically augmented human being who's a Sikh from the Indian subcontinent. The South Asian subcontinent. He's from India. So, they got Ricardo Montalban back in the day, but Ricardo Montalban, if you watch the original Space Seed, he's this, really ethnic-looking dude. He's, tan and dark, because he's supposed to be, he's supposed to be a Sikh from India. He's supposed to be dark-skinned.
Yeah.
No, they get Benedict Cumberbatch, the whitest man on planet Earth. Literally.
WTF.
And, and then they, their twist is, okay, so in the original Wrath of Khan, Spock sacrifices himself in order to replace the dilithium core in the warp core of the Enterprise, but in doing this and putting a new dilithium core into the warp
You're just
core,
basically risking your life.
He basically exposed himself to a lot of radiation. Now, it's a really emotional thing because if you're a fan of Star Trek, you were with these people throughout the original series, and you understand the relationship these people have. Spock is one of James T. Kirk's oldest friends. They're really good friends and all that shit. Well, all that shit gets thrown out the window. That relationship isn't built. So basically, in this one, Kirk sacrifices himself in the Star Trek Into Darkness, and it's just so fucking stupid.
Doesn't wait, isn't it the other? Yeah, it wasn't like you said. Wasn't it the other way around?
Yeah, yeah,
Didn't Spock die
yeah. In the original,
and
so
stay dead?
well, no. What happens in the original Wrath of Khan is that basically, like, Kirk is like like the whole point behind Wrath of Khan is that Khan basically, because at the end of Space Seed, Khan subverts one of Kirk's ensigns to help him try and take over the ship. Kirk wins by cheating, like, because basically, like, the augments, there's a history behind it. Okay, in the Star Trek universe, there's World War III. World War III basically, it causes massive nuclear destruction. Humanity almost destroys itself, but eventually they pull themselves together. They create one world government. They solve they solve environmental issues. They solve they create a post scarcity society. So basically, your healthcare, your your healthcare, you don't need money. Like, basically, you don't need money. Your basic needs are taken care of. So you have a place to live. You have clothes. You have the basic shit that you need. If you want
So
extra,
essentially, the communist utopia. Or the
well,
communist dream.
it's not really a communist utopia. Because if you want, like, your basic needs are taken care of, but if you want more, if you want better shit, you have to work for it. So, like, if you want to live in a nicer house, you basically you get, like, kind of like a
You need extra effort.
yeah, you get extra effort. So if you're like a major scientist doing major work, you're obviously going to get better shit than someone who's just, yeah, I work at a bar. You know, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Like, so
Yeah.
I mean, your basic needs are taken care of, but if you want extra shit, you work for it. But here's the thing: because your healthcare is taken care of, because you're a citizen of the Federation, of the Earth, of Earth, because you don't have to worry about, oh man, if I get sick, can they take care of me? You have time to make yourself into a better human being. So people have time to go to school and learn how to, get a degree in biology. So yeah, the person who might be a bartender might be a bartender, but the fucker also might have a degree in biology, right? Right? You have time to make yourself into a better person. You have time to become an artist. You have time to write a novel. You have time to do whatever. You're not. The pressure isn't on to work a menial job and be pigeonholed into bullshit just so that you can make ends meet. So it's like basically, but in order for humanity to get to this point, in order for us to have a one world government, in order for us to deal with sexism, racism, using religion in order to bludgeon people who don't believe, and passing laws to discriminate against people who aren't believers, fundamentalism, that shit. We've moved beyond that shit. It's a better world, okay? Superstition has been slain. We figured out, hey, lightning isn't the gods' displeasure at someone and them being struck down by lightning. It's positive and negatively charged ions having a violent interaction. Like, it's science. We had to have World War III where we almost destroyed ourselves, and some guy basically develops the warp engine. The Vulcans, who had been observing Earth and seeing how we almost destroyed ourselves and didn't destroy ourselves, sees, oh man, they finally developed warp 1, which is one of the prerequisites in being having first contact. And they come down and they help us get to this level of technological and sociological.
Higher intellect, right?
Well, it's technological and sociological things. But basically, during World War III in the Star Trek universe, what happened was that humanity, after World War III, some scientists said the problem, like, how do we not have this happen again? And some scientists said the problem is the nature of humanity. So they basically created genetically modified, genetically augmented humans who were supposed to be perfect. The problem is, and this is in the lore of Star Trek, is that superior genetics breeds superior ambition. So basically, if you create genetically augmented humans who basically know that they're better than everyone else, they will think, well, we're better than everyone else, so we need to rule everyone else. And so you had this shadow war between these different um, genetically augmented
Factions of humans, right?
factions of humans. Yeah, they had this who were basically the ones in control. So you had like, yeah, we're the Asian bloc of this area after World War III, but it's really being run by Khan Noonien Sung in the background. And actually, believe it or not, Khan Noonien Sung was actually not the worst of these genetically augmented um, uh,
People.
people. He actually wasn't the worst one. He actually was one of the good ones, but he was still a son of a bitch. So basically, when he saw the writing was on the wall, he took some of his followers and said, fuck this, we're leaving Earth. And he got on a little thing and he went into space. And that's where you find him in Space Seed, where Kirk and his crew come across this long-term stasis vessel, and they're like, hey, what's going on here? And they find the genetically augmented Khan, who basically tries to take over the ship. Kirk basically stops him by cheating in a fight, because Kirk will cheat in order to win. He's the only person who ever beat the Kobayashi Maru scenario by cheating, because Kirk doesn't believe in a no-win situation. So he basically pulls this pipe from off the wall in the engineering room and just goes to town on Khan Noonien Sung, because basically Khan Noonien Sung is like Bane and Kirk is like Batman. Batman has never beaten Bane in a one-on-one fight straight up. He always has to use some type of cheat method. Like, I'm gonna take my cape off and put some bricks in it and beat this motherfucker in the face with it. Because the motherfucker he's too strong. He's got to fight dirty. He's got to get down and dirty with Bane in order to win that fight. And that's basically how Kirk won. And he strands Khan on this shitty fucking little planet with the ensign who committed treason. However, it's like Tau Ceti 3 in Space Seed. They changed it to Tau Ceti 4 in the Wrath of Khan. But basically, Khan comes back. He gets his revenge. He's like, yeah, I fixed you, Kirk. And it's this really awesome cat and mouse battle where they're basically like fighting each other. And it's one of the better Star Trek films. And Alex Kurtzman actually fucking thought he could pull off making a good Star Trek film. And Alex Kurtzman's overrated because Star Trek Into Darkness is trash.
That's putting it lightly.
It's hot butter trash.
There we go.
So basically, yeah, Star Trek Into Darkness is hot butter trash. I hate it. I wish it would die. I hate that. I hate that movie. Star Trek Beyond, not good either. None of this shit's good. For me, JJ Trek, the first JJ Trek film is okay. But it's not great. Star Trek 2, Star Trek Into Darkness is trash, and Star Trek Beyond is not good either. J.J. Abrams, Hollywood keeps on giving this dude franchises that he runs into the ground. He ran Star Wars into the ground. He ran Star Trek into the ground. And they just keep on giving this motherfucker chances to run shit into the ground. I don't get it.
Yeah, Star Trek. The third one. I didn't even like the third one that much. I always thought the third one wasn't that great.
Third Star Trek or the third Star Wars?
The third Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek Beyond was not good. Star Trek Beyond was how can I put this? Basically, like J.J. Abrams' signature on these movies make them not enjoyable to me. Like, I don't like why he keeps on fucking putting Beastie Boys in all these fucking movies. I'm like, why the fuck would people of the future be fucking listening to Beastie Boys? I like the Beastie Boys, but why? Just because you fucking like Beastie Boys.
it kind
Where
of takes you out of.
where do you get your taste in music?
Yeah,
I mean, it also just kind of takes you out of the fiction.
yeah,
Like it takes you out of it. It's like really you're gonna make a reference to an '80s or '90s band. It's like okay,
yeah.
whatever.
And it's like, okay, like in the third movie in Star Trek Beyond, when they sabotage the guy's signal so he can't blow up this huge space station, like they play Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. I'm like, this is just stupid. Like, why would anyone
As
let
I
this
said,
motherfucker make this film? Was there no oversight? Whatever.
who
Yeah, nah,
whose
that was
taste?
weird. I mean, yeah, that was weird. It's like, yeah, this is kind of dumb.
I would rather watch Star Trek 3 The Search for Spock over and over again, where Spock is. Because at the end of Wrath of Khan, they launch Spock's dead body onto the Genesis planet, where the Genesis planet brings him back to life. So they do the third movie where they have to find Spock's, like a resurrected Spock, and put his Katra into his body so that he can come back. But there's a scene in Search for Spock where like like his body's coming back, but he's aging back up to his right age, but he's going through the Vulcan equivalent of puberty, so he has to mate or he'll die. So basically, Kirk's son's assistant, who is a Vulcan, has to go out into the woods and just help him out, or he'll die. So it's kind of funny, actually. Like as a kid, I
Some
didn't
of the
know.
weirder things in the world.
Well,
Thank you
I
very
mean,
much.
that's a rule in Star Trek where, well, it used to be where, because there's an entire episode where Spock's like, yeah, every 7 years we have to mate or we'll die. And so they take him back to Vulcan, and so he can work it out. And yeah, he has to mate or he'll die. Yeah, it's called Ponfar. They feel the urge to mate. They have to or they'll die. They fucked that up with the new Star Trek film where Spock is fucking Nyota Uhura, which I was not cool with, because that kind of fucks up the character, you know.
Yeah.
It,
So, yeah, a lot of
JJ Trek was trash.
Yeah, those two movies are awful.
Yeah, JJ Trek was trash. Really, and here's the thing: we had some really good Star Trek films. They ranged from really great to okay. But even the okay Star Trek films from the original series and Next Generation, I would take that over JJ Trek. But anyway, let's get to the other topics. We might be going a little bit late, but you know, I think it's worth
Yeah.
it. Should we care about the specs of a console? Because people are talking about the specs of the
Should I-
PS5 and the
Should I-
Xbox.
You know, here.
Should I
here,
say it
th-
first?
Let's
So
let
it's
Kenoshi go first, and
running
then you
over.
go, Jewel.
All right.
Here, this is the problem I have with the whole argument of power. But like, when people talk about power, like, they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Are they talking about TDP, how much power is being drawn to make the system work, such as voltage? Are they talking about efficiency? Are they talking about because there's a lot that goes into power than just frame rate higher or resolution better. It's just I just love how it was at the later half of the 7th gen when people were jumping on PC because they were hearing about how much games look better on PC, and then all of a sudden they just want to come out and act like they know what they're talking about. When it comes to hardware, when it's just like, well, I mean, when you build a PC, it's practically putting Legos together.
Yeah. Okay, Joel.
Simple answer, no. Longer answer, you need to know how to put everything together like Voltron in order to say that power makes a console. And by the looks of it, I don't think a number of these companies are even getting that right.
Well, here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to get a bit raw with this analogy, but it's very apt. Bragging about the power of a console or even a PC is like a dude bragging about how big his dick is. It means nothing if you don't know how to use it. So basically,
Enough said.
or a woman bragging about her assets, but if you can't use them in a way that's enticing, what's the point? So basically, or a less vulgar term, it's like bragging about how great your ingredients are and what you're cooking, but then you fuck up what you're actually cooking. Doesn't matter how good the ingredients are. If you fuck up the seasoning, the temperature, how you're supposed to cook it, it's not going to work. Um, so, I mean, basically, what
Yeah.
we're seeing with these consoles is people are bragging about the specs, and we're not getting games that are like these games are not fundamentally any more innovative or well developed than what we had last year. As a matter of fact, because they have the extra power, these developers are even gonna get even fucking lazier and less likely to optimize shit. So, congratulations, you're paying more for more shoddily made games.
I was about to say, in short, you're paying more for less.
Yep. $70 games, folks. $70 games that are fundamentally less well made than games of this gen. And here's the thing, no one is immune from making games that are less well made this gen, because like I said, I played Breath of the Wild, that game crashed on me twice. Okay?
Yeah.
At least they tried to fix it.
Yeah, but
Unlike these other
a first
scumbags,
party game
but-
should not be crashing on first party hardware. That's unacceptable.
Yeah,
from
that
any
is-
developer,
yeah,
that from
we'll
any
have to
from
agree
any
with that.
console maker.
That's true. It's just that if anything, I could at least say that
No
at least
excuses.
Nintendo tried to fix it.
No excuses.
Well, I mean, yeah, you should have got it right the first time.
Not with a
I'm
not with
sorry,
a,
but
not with a
not-
first
not
party
even
game. A first party game on first party hardware should not be crashing. No excuses for anyone. Nintendo, when Microsoft re-released the Halo Master Chief Collection,
I don't remember that mess.
and that was
Yeah.
like the multiplayer was broken. The one thing that Halo's known for is the online multiplayer, and it's fucking broken. How the fuck do you... That's unacceptable. Okay?
That is
You
highly
cannot... there's
unacceptable.
no excuses for a first-party game coming out on first-party hardware where it's not performing well. That is unacceptable. I'm sorry, and there's no excuses for it. None. Like, because here's the thing, you can't say after the fact, well, I tried to fix it. It's like when people say, well, I went to jail, but I'm trying to get my life straight. You shouldn't have gone to jail in the first place.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay?
Yeah, maybe you should have. Maybe you shouldn't have did what you did to go in jail in the first place.
I know that I didn't take care of my kids when I was there, but now that I have a court order that says they're going to garnish my wages in order to pay child support, I take care of my kids. You should take care of your kids any fucking way, okay? You shouldn't get applause for doing what you're supposed to do. Here's the thing. Nintendo is a minor thing, because like I said, Breath of the Wild crashed on me twice. And it wasn't like a major thing. But still, this is the first time I played. Like, Nintendo's been fucking up this gen, because, like, the Joy-Con drift issue. Like, this is the first time in memory that I've had a Nintendo console where the hardware was fucking up.
Well, I mean, it's really embarrassing that they were saying, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with the Joy-Con."
Well, they have to say that.
Like, really?
Legally, they have to say there's no issue. Legally, they can't say, "Yeah, we did it," because then they're going to open themselves up for a lot of lawsuits. So they have to say nothing. They're probably going to plead it down and then pay the lady and her family some money, maybe institute some shit, and then call it a day. Legally, they have to do that. But we all know that the Joy-Con issue is a fucking issue. Because if it wasn't, people wouldn't be sending the shit in to get it fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look, they rushed the shit out to meet the end of their fiscal year because they wanted to wash the taste of the Wii U out of people's mouths. I get it. I understand. Okay? I mean, personally, I was against that because I like the Wii U. I think it was the better 8th gen console. Look, I've played on the Xbox One. I played on a PS4, PS4 Pro, as a matter of fact. And I tell you, the best 8th gen console, and I know people are going to get mad at me when I say this, the Wii U. Best 8th gen console. I said it, I stand by it. I wish someone would fight me about it. The Xbox One was some bullshit. The PS5 was some bullshit. I agree with Shuhei Yoshida. I have no idea why anyone bought the PS4. No fucking idea. Well, actually, I know why. Because Microsoft fucked up their release of the Xbox One, and Nintendo was struggling. They trusted third parties for 8 months, and they basically gave those fuckers a chance to put out whatever they wanted for 8 months, and basically third parties, instead of putting out some decent games, bent Nintendo over and fucked them up the ass with no loot.
Killed them.
And that was on Nintendo, because at this point, no first-party company should trust third parties unless you're Sony. Sony could literally bust into a third-party publisher's house and sleep with their wife, their daughter, and their mama right in front of them, and shoot their dog and piss in their Cheerios, and third parties will still support Sony.
And we've said it here before. A lot of those Switch games that came out the first year probably were Wii U games that were moved over to the Switch.
Yeah, and a lot of the games that came out in the second year are 3DS games that were ported over to the Switch.
I mean,
Animal Crossing. This new Animal Crossing, that's a fucking 3DS game, folks.
Man, all those people that were, crying about, laughing at Sony and Microsoft for, having ports on their system, putting a bunch of ports on their system. All the Nintendo fans. Well, there's egg on your face now.
Yeah, Nintendo's doing it too. And I've bought some ports. I'm gonna buy Mario 3D World again.
Yeah, I'll pick that up because I don't have a physical copy of that game, so I'm definitely gonna get it.
I have a digital copy of it on my Wii U, and I don't trade in my Nintendo systems, but I'm just saying, look, okay, I've tried to diminish the amount of ports I buy for the Switch, but even I'm just kind of like, okay, like I buy a new console for new shit, not ports of shit that I already own. That's all I'm saying.
Link's Awakening probably should have been a 3DS game.
Yeah, that should have been a 3DS game. And I don't like the new art style for that game anyway. But let's keep it moving. We got another topic. Yeah, so basically the specs of a console are immaterial when it comes to because I mean you buy a console. Okay, the only time specs matter is if you have a PC. And even that, the way games are scalable now, that doesn't really even matter. You're just not going to have the best experience of playing that game. But the way things are now, you should just, I mean, like, specs on a console don't fucking matter. It's the games. It's how those games take advantage of the specs. But anyway, our final topic is comfort branding, which, for those of you who don't know, comfort branding is when people have an emotional tie with a brand, and if you criticize that brand, they get angry, like you're attacking them. Even if it's like, and I mean, look, I've been that way with Nintendo because I feel that a lot of the arguments against Nintendo, especially during the Wii generation and the Wii U generation and the GameCube generation, were kind of unfair criticisms. But so I had comfort branding with that. But at a certain point, if someone has legit criticisms, you can't keep on defending the shit. You have to say, look, that is a fair criticism. I disagree with your assessment, but it's a fair, I can see where there's some substance to your criticism. But a lot of people have taken comfort branding to the level where if you attack something that they love, they think you're attacking them. It's ridiculous.
I used to be that. I used to be that way with certain things, like certain video games and music, and even TV shows. But then I just got to a point where it's like, it's just if people don't like it, people don't like it. Not everything is not for everyone. So.
No. Like I said, I used to be like that with Nintendo. I kind of have moved away from it because the shit that I criticized Sony and Microsoft for, Nintendo has started to do.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yeah, how dare Sony charge people for online? Nintendo's charging people for online. They aren't charging $60 or $70 a year like Sony is what they're charging for it.
Yeah.
So I can't criticize Sony and Microsoft for the shit and then just turn a blind eye to Nintendo doing the shit.
Yeah.
I can't criticize Sony and Microsoft for all these fucking ports of shit that people bought last gen and then ignore when Nintendo does it. It's not a fair argument. Like if you're it's not good logical assessment if you basically have biases that cause you to not have a fair assessment of when someone does something. And here's the thing: we all have biases. It's very difficult for people to make that assessment. I understand that. I totally get it. But you have to try and be as logical as you possibly can about these things. You can't. And this is where stoicism and taking a step back and trying to divorce yourself from the emotional entanglement you may have. And not an August Alsina Jada Pinkett entanglement.
Wow.
You shouldn't have an
That's
entanglement.
you.
You shouldn't have an entanglement with these things. You have to take a step back and not be so emotionally involved with these products. Because at the end of the day, these are just products. They will live and die on their own merits. And like people used to go with sales. Well, this sold a lot. Well, I mean, there's shit that sells a lot that's not good. I mean, Madden sells gangbusters. Has Madden been good? Really? For years?
F no.
That's not really an assessment
Right.
of quality.
With the last time Madden's been good, I don't play Madden, but anybody who does probably what?
Maybe
Next
Madden
gen,
25?
maybe?
I heard Madden 25 was good. Because it had like the legacy teams and shit. And like the
Yeah.
legendary teams and legendary players, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like Madden is just kind of trash these days. FIFA. When's the last really good FIFA game? I don't mean solid. I mean a FIFA game that we were like, shit, this is fucking awesome, brah.
I don't play soccer games.
That was once upon a time.
I mean, this is where I'll give Nintendo credit. This is where I will give Nintendo a lot of credit. Even like Nintendo, by and large, even their like less than stellar games are still pretty good. Like Mario Sunshine, I don't like, but it's still a pretty good game. Mario Odyssey, I'm not a fan of, but it's still I'm not like the biggest fan of. It's still pretty good. Like if all you had to play was Mario Odyssey or Mario Sunshine, you wouldn't be like, fuck this game, I'm not playing it. Like you would sit down and play it for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, not maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and not feel bad about it. Like I have no like if all I had to play were Madden and FIFA, I wouldn't play video games. I just read and watch movies. Like
Yeah, because it's games like those that make you realize want to leave gaming.
Yeah. But that's my own personal opinion. That's my own personal opinion. I know some people will disagree. I'm so tired of people like you make a comment or a criticism, and people act like you personally attack them. It's like I didn't talk about your mother. I didn't cast an aspersion towards you. I'm saying that product is like has some issues with it. It has some issues with it. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't mean that it doesn't mean I'm attacking you. I'm saying that the product has some issues that I would be loath to ignore. It would be malfeasance of me to not talk about.
Oh yeah.
But people don't talk about that shit. Like, I find it hilarious that people don't talk about that. People aren't like, hey, man, guess what? This is some bullshit. No, I'm not going to say anything. It's like, why are you afraid of talking about the shit? That's. Like, I don't. Whatever. But anyway, so our final topic is our nominations for the asshole of the week.
And mine's is going to, oh boy, Enix, Square Enix.
Okay, why?
I, I mean, they basically are trying to play off the how bad their game is, and it's so obvious that they're trying so hard it sucks.
They have to play it off.
Yeah, but it's so blatantly obvious that they can't even admit that they're sinking. Even if it, even though they are paid to say it's not sinking, it's clear there's they're so playing it off hard.
I mean, like, what? Like, here's the thing. What are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to pull like an Amazon and be like, "Yeah, this game is so bad that we're pulling it." Like like Amazon had a game that was so bad they
At
de-released it.
least have the if you have a game that's sinking so badly that sucks, you should at least admit that you have a failure on your hands.
They
Kind of like Artifact.
they can't. They can't. They can't. They can't de-release the game because they're probably, and I don't have any evidence to support this aside from just basic business, but what I think, and this is just my own me knowing about business, I think what happened is that they signed a business deal with Marvel and Disney, and they basically, like, they can't, they have to pay a certain amount of money to Marvel.
To the big M.
Yeah, they have to pay a certain amount of money for the licensing for that game. So they can't afford to just pull it.
Yeah, they have to. I think they have to probably keep the game going for
Right.
as long as their
I was gonna
the
say they don't
license
need to pull it, but if
is
anything, could they at
active.
least admit they screwed up?
Like
No, they
EA,
can't do that either.
like EA with those Star Wars games, right? Like, remember when Battlefront was just a fucking just dumpster fire?
Enough said.
I mean, they can't admit that they screwed up because they have investors that they have to try to please,
Yeah,
and it's yeah.
they can't do it. They cannot
For-
physically. They can't admit it. Okay, they can't. You know, it's kind of like how Nintendo can't admit that the left Joy-Cons are an issue.
Yeah, because it will
It'll open them up for more
it'll
lawsuits. They can't admit it, so they have to basically.
for more lawsuits and possibly
Yeah, so they have to
investors
fight.
taking out
Yeah.
money. Yeah.
I mean, that's just basic business. They can't, even though we all know that it's a fucking issue, but they can't admit it because they have to fight it in court.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up, but
Well, my asshole of the week is Lariat Studios for charging $60 for an early access game.
yeah, yeah, that's a good asshole of the week. My asshole of the week was going to go to. I was gonna do Larian, but then I realized, look, you're not being forced to buy this.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a dick move, but no one's being forced to buy this. My asshole of the week is going back to Ubisoft. Because basically,
Oh, this I got here.
they had the nerve. There was a study that came out earlier this week where Ubisoft did an internal survey where 1 out of 4 people, 25%, so 1 out of 4, basically employees, who responded to the survey, because there are always going to be people who don't respond to that survey. There are people who don't respond, or there are people who respond in a way
Oddly.
that they're going to say they didn't see something when they did. So there's probably, it's higher than that, but basically 25%, or 1 out of every 4 employees has seen harassment or been harassed. And it's not Ubisoft entirely. I'm also including people who defend Ubisoft, because I went on a forum, and I was in a chat area of an article, and I was like, okay, well, statistically, when people fill out surveys, there's actually a higher level of people there's probably a higher level of people who've seen harassment or who were harassed, but they probably didn't say anything, because typically speaking, statistically speaking, a lot of times when people are harassed or sexually harassed or physically harassed, they don't report it. There's no data for it, until well after the fact. So if you see a statistic where it's like 1 out of 25%, it's probably like 35 to like 50, rather than 1 out of 4. It's just 1 out of 4 actually responded to the survey in a way that was indicative of being harassed or seeing harassment. And like the fact that Ubisoft would spin that shit like, oh well, it's not that big of a deal, we're dealing with it. It's like, this shit's been going on for a decade or more.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You had a failure on multiple levels. You had an HR department that covered up for these people doing this shit. You had the people who were doing this shit, instead of being reported, being promoted so that they had more power, so that they could use their power to basically fuck with people. Because here's the thing. When people are harassed or abused, it's not about sex. It's about power. It's about someone having power over someone and leveraging that power to do something. The only fucking reason that this shit's gone down is about power. It's always been about power. And they basically promoted the people who were doing this shit when they were managers of a team and doing it to just their team members of like 20, 30 people. They leveraged them so that they were heads of like 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, 400 people. And they're like, I can't believe this happened. Really? You fucking morons. And they ignored
I think
it.
a lot of the...
No, go ahead.
I think, that's obviously, that's obviously a cover up, because I think a lot of these people were friends.
Oh yeah.
Or, they were associates who really knew each other well. So they just kind of looked the other way, because it's like,
well, let's keep it real.
If I say something, then I'll lose something that I want. And
well, let's keep it real. The people who managed to stay in positions of power were people who were making a lot of money. Like this shit, once again, it boils down to, this shit is about money. All right?
Yep.
Okay? Like, if the games these people had been making had been failing, had not been making money, these people would have been fired. And the only reason these people are being forced out now is because they were caught.
Yeah.
If that article hadn't come out, nothing would have happened. Like, not a damn thing would have happened. It would have been like, oh, okay, well, shit happens.
Yeah. It would have been business as usual.
Yeah. And, the fact that gamers are defending this shit, well, I'm like all these sites, yeah, we're gonna play, Watch Dogs Legion's looking good. Yeah, I don't care how fucking good the shit looks. I'm not buying it. I mean, I'm sorry, but no. Um, but with that being said, anyone have anyone else they want to nominate before we wrap things up?
In that case, since you actually made the case, I'd say, yeah, Ubisoft, you're in another a-hole of the week.
Yeah. So this makes so right now it's 2-1 for so Ubisoft gets it, but basically this is like the third week that Ubisoft has gotten an asshole of the week.
They're yeah. Yeah, that's Ubisoft for you.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a way to fuck up, they will find it.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. You know, you know how they say find a way.
They're they're getting this. I mean, if they're trying to be EA, let keep for about a few years. Oh boy.
They're worse than EA though. Cause here's the thing, I never like EA. Okay, EA has will cancel people and fucking destroy their shit. You know, destroy IPs. But I haven't heard of anyone being drugged, sexually harassed, um, at EA. Heard some fucked up shit at EA. Haven't heard that. You know what I mean?
Which is surprising.
Like I would rather have an IP that I worked on get run into the ground by EA than have you know, someone drug me without my knowledge, or someone say to a woman, this woman is needs to open her mind. She's hurting my head, so she needs to be raped until her mind opens up. I mean, that is some. I mean, like someone who would say some shit like that clearly does not like women.
Yeah.
Cause that is some. It's like clearly
Yeah.
you don't like women that you would say something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, cause that is fucked up. I'm sorry. That is like that's some shit where like any woman who would go with a man who would say that, I would look at her and be like, really? You would let someone who thinks like that fuck you? Uh, that's I think less of you because you go with someone like that.
Yeah. Girls like me, some bad looks.
Because typically the women I know, like if a man says something really stupid, he goes on the like even if they're in the mood, he goes on the nope, not happening list.
I was about to say he get he gets put on the he gets put on a list that says you're not going to be getting anything for ages.
It's like, and
If
you were almost there. The panties were about to drop. You were about to get some, but you said something stupid, and now the panties are. It's locked up now. You lost. There you go, dumbass. But anyway, that's my. I guess that's the end of the cast. Anything you guys want to bring up before we wrap things up?
Oh yeah, right. AMD just announced their new chipset, and you know
They look pretty good.
yeah, they're finally. It looks like they might actually finally beat Intel by a pretty decent margin when it comes to gaming with their CPUs. So get ready for that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because I was Intel didn't have to do anything for the longest time.
Yeah.
Because AMD kept screwing up, and once they finally got themselves together, it's like, oh no, now we got to do something.
Well, this is what competition is for. It's there to kick everyone in the ass and make them do something. Like this is why it was such a terrible thing when SquareSoft and Enix merged together, because there was no competition between Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest anymore, because they're all under one roof. There was no reason to compete. And when you don't have competition, you get what we have now, which is a stagnation in JRPGs.
I mean, rather than seeing it as, well, AMD is winning and it's a death blow to Intel, I just wish people would quit with those clickbaity articles. Oh, they should see it as, well, now we're going to see some interesting things out of the CPU market.
I mean, like, look, okay, it's like with graphics cards, okay? NVIDIA, for the longest time, just priced, they were like, yeah, if you want this, you got to spend like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a fucking graphics card. It was ridiculous. There was no reason for graphics cards to be that fucking expensive. And now that AMD is out with their graphics cards, that, the highest end shit that NVIDIA has might outperform AMD shit, but you can get comparable for most games, and it's way cheaper. NVIDIA's like, well, shit, we gotta make this shit more affordable. Everyone wins because of competition. Yeah. Except for these companies, but fuck them. They need to learn how to make their shit better.
Yeah. So,
Intel, because AMD is making better CPUs, that are, that are competitive. Yeah. The highest end Intel shit might be better than the highest end AMD shit, but unless you are like a CG graphic, a 3D graphical artist, a professional where you need an Intel work. And here's the thing: if you need a workstation PC, you're not building it. You're going to like professional people who sell workstation PCs. And workstation PCs are really fucking expensive. Like, the cheapest ones are like 50 grand. They're a business expense. Like, if you bought one, you could write it off on your taxes, okay? So...
And things are crazy when AMD is actually, selling their CPUs, a few bucks more than Intel. It's like, they were pretty confident. It's like, oh, now we're top tier now. It's like, oh.
I mean, I don't think they're more expensive than Intel. I think that, like, they're still priced competitively. They just aren't as cheap as they used to be, back in the day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they aren't like, AMD used to be really inexpensive with their shit. Okay, guys, I got some good news.
What?
The Outer Worlds is hitting Steam on October 23rd.
Oh, wow.
So for those of you who were like, I will not buy this shit. I will not buy this shit on the Epic Game Store. You can eventually get it on Steam. So
I have to have the sale like they did with when Borderlands came to Steam.
Yeah. So before we go further, they probably will. So here are the prices for the Ryzen 9, the AMD prices. So the Ryzen 9 5950X is $800. The Ryzen 9 5900X is $550. The 5800X is $450, and then the Ryzen 5 is $300. So their CPUs, their Ryzen 9 3950X is $750. So basically, like, I mean, these prices are, they're competitive to what you'd get for a higher end Intel i5, i7, i9.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the i7s, i9s might be a bit more expensive, actually. Here, let me look it up. Intel prices. Intel CPU prices. They might have cut it, but I think that the CPUs are no, the i9s are their shit is more expensive. The i9 $99,000 is $339. Sorry, $380. So yeah, their shit's more expensive. So I guess they know they got some good shit. I guess I don't know. But
Yeah.
this is gonna look. This means that now it's better for you to buy an Intel CPU because it's cheaper, you know, than AMD.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking, if you're working with a tight budget,
Yeah,
it's an
and
interesting
Intel's
place to
pretty
be right
good.
now.
Intel's pretty good, you know. So it's it's.
Yeah, you won't be screwing yourself over by getting an Intel CPU.
No, no. So I mean, basically, what I'm saying is this: competition is good. Means everyone can get stuff. And here's the thing: you don't have to get this shit now. Like right now, the way my PC is upgraded, the best thing I can do is wait until next year, or the year after next, and just build a new PC. Just start getting parts once they go on sale. So I'm not gonna get a 5950X now. I'm gonna wait till next year when the prices drop, because you know the prices are gonna drop next year.
Yeah.
You know the prices are gonna go down to like 550, 400. That's when you go and buy your new shit.
Yeah, that's.
And I'm just gonna have to get a new motherboard because at this point, I don't want to add more shit to it. So yeah, we've covered everything. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
I think we're smooth.
All right. This is BS
So,
Busters.
if anything, thank you everyone for watching the BS Busters.
Yeah,
And if you want to contact us, got we got email, we got Twitter, we got Discord.
that's right. All the details are on the page. You can also, if you would like to be a part of the Discord, it's in the description of the video. That being said, rate, comment, share, subscribe, go and vote if you can. Election season's coming up.
I
Stay
got
safe.
mine,
Wash your
so-
hands. Wear your masks. Stay safe.